Never look down on anyone unless you're helping them up. It's a way of summarizing in a way that this teaching of Jesus in Matthew 25. Jesus says today, "Amen, I say to you, whatever you did for one of the least brothers of mine, you did for me." You know, a lot of times when Jesus is teaching, he's using a metaphor or using a parable, and it's difficult to really understand exactly what he means. You really have to kind of study and pray and reflect on the text. But today it's really crystal clear, isn't it? The truth that Jesus wants us to know, to understand, and to live is clear and concise. He says, whatever you did or did not do for one of my least brothers or sisters, you did or did not do to me. This Sunday is the solemnity of Christ the King. It's the culmination, the end of our liturgical year. Next Sunday, we begin a new liturgical year with the first Sunday of Advent. Also, next Sunday, we begin the Jubilee celebration of the Diocese of Memphis. It's our 50th anniversary as a diocese. So it's going to be a very beautiful and very special year. Well, one of the things the church invites us to do, encourages us to do at the end of the liturgical year is to reflect on what we call the last things. To think about, pray about, reflect on the end of time, the last judgment, and our own personal judgment. When we will go and stand before the judgment seat of God. So, how will you and I be judged? What's the criterion, precise criterion that's going to be used? For me, that's a question I really want to understand clearly. I think it's vital for us. Jesus makes it clear that it's not simply or even primarily right belief that's going to be the criterion. We're not going to be judged according to our intellectual convictions. We certainly will not be judged according to our political allegiance. For most of us, fortunately, we won't be judged according to our artistic abilities or our athletic abilities. We certainly won't be judged according to our social status. All those things are fine and good in themselves. But Jesus is teaching us that we will not be judged by those criteria. Those are often the criterion of the world around us, by which we are judged worthy or to be of value. We're going to be judged by our concrete acts of love. Love concretely expressed. What we have done or what we have failed to do. Especially by how we have loved those who are the least, or those, another way to put it is those who are the hardest to love. So one of the questions that I feel invited to ask myself, I invite you to ask yourself, who are the least in your world? Who are the least in your circle of people that you come into contact with? Who have you deemed the least worthy of your time and attention? Who have you decided to write off? To brush aside and not have anything to do with? Those are the least that Jesus is talking to us about. Yeah, he's talking to us about those who live on the margins of society in a special way, yes. But also who lives on the margins of our life, our world, our little world. Those are folks that we rub elbows with at the workplace, maybe if we're in school, that we see at school. They could be right here in our own parish. Could be even in our own home. Those that we see each and every day. Jesus talks about what we have done and what we have failed to do. Ultimately, the criterion is Jesus himself, which makes it a pretty high bar. Jesus is saying we're not going to be judged by our pious thoughts, our good intentions, our warm, fuzzy feelings. What did you do? What did you neglect to do? And just think about how Jesus himself lived and acted. What did Jesus do? He loved those that even crucified him. The church teaches us that we should live out the corporal and the spiritual works of mercy. It's one of those core teachings that we should live out of those corporal and spiritual works of mercy. The corporal works of mercy are based on Matthew 25. The spiritual works of mercy are a little different. And here's two of the spiritual works of mercy I feel invited to reflect on myself, invite you to think about. One of them is that we bear wrongs patiently. And the other is that we forgive offenses willingly. Bear wrongs patiently and forgive offenses willingly. Do we do that in concrete ways? Or when somebody hurts us, insults us, or gets on our bad side, do we treat them with less love? Do we kind of write them off? Do we close our hearts to them? We're going to have to stand before the judgment seat and answer for what we have done and what we have failed to do concretely. Matthew 25 is a great examination of conscience. Is that one of the ways that I focus my time and energy, my life? Is it part of the fabric of my family? The things that we do, the things that we make important in the ways we spend our time. That we're doing these things that Jesus expects us to do. I'm so grateful that here at St. Mary's we have our Christmas Partners program. It's a way that we as a parish family put this concretely into action. The Christmas Partners every year we support last year was almost 1,000 children that they might have a better Christmas, or for some of them to have Christmas at all, to have any kind of gifts. So our Christmas Partners angel tree is back up in the narthex. You may have noticed it when you came in. This year we're doing it a little differently, so I wanted to make sure that you understood what we're doing this year. You take an angel off the tree. There's also angels on the bulletin board. There's angels on the left side of the narthex, and there's some angels in the entryway by the Holy Family Hall entrance. You take one of those angels, and on the back there's a email and a phone number where you can call to get information about that particular family and the kind of gifts that they're hoping to get, the ages of the children, and then when you need to deliver those. So I hope everybody will participate. But yes, when you take your angel, we also ask you to sign this little notebook to let us know that you took that angel. So we do ask you to sign that. There's 2 notebooks in the narthex. So I hope everyone that can will participate in Christmas Partners. If you don't feel comfortable with going out shopping for some kids' toys, then you can donate some money and let some other folks will go do that for you. lot of volunteers. It takes a lot of hands on deck to make this happen. The couple of weeks beforehand, we spend a lot of time getting everything prepared. So there's a lot of days where we need help. And then the actual day when we're distributing everything, this year normally we're done by noon, but this year we're going to have to spread it out through most of Saturday. And so if you're willing to come and help on that day, we need people directing traffic in the parking lot, to people helping distribute gifts, and people helping put bikes in cars. There's all kinds of ways that we need help. It takes a lot of people to make this happen. And it's a beautiful way that we live out this teaching in Matthew 25. Going out of our way, giving up our time and part of ourselves, part of our life, to help those who live on the margins, that are less fortunate than we are. Jesus makes it crystal clear today. When we go and stand before the throne of the King for our judgment, He's not going to ask, how much did you love those who loved you?